Alrighty, welcome back to New Music Friday, the series where I give my thoughts and opinions on all the new music from the last 2 weeks. Some big name... Archie. Well... Alrighty, welcome back to New Music Friday, the series where I give my thoughts and opinions on all the new music from the last 2 weeks. Some big names dropped these past 2 weeks, but honestly more albums and EPs than notable singles, so today's agenda is pretty tame, although there are still a lot of great names, dropping some great music. As always, timestamps are in the description if you want to skip ahead to a certain track. And without further ado, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. We are going to jump right in with a new track I'm super freaking pumped to talk about. It's the new Midland song, Sunrise Tells the Story.
The moon, sun on.
The Gator Boys are finally back. As many of you know by now, Midland is one of, if not my favorite act in country music. Obviously, we got the Sonic Ranch earlier this year, but that was just archives of old recordings, so this is really the first taste of new music we've gotten in almost 2 years. Let It Roll was August of 2019, and ever since, we've got a few covers here and there, an acoustic EP, the Sonic Ranch as I mentioned, but this new song is the first official piece of new music in, like I said, nearly 2 years. It's part of a 5-track EP called The Last Resort, which the whole thing comes out on July 16th, 2 weeks from now. You guys already know I'm through the roof with excitement for that one, but for good reason. This new track is awesome. Sonically, it feels a little more vintage Midland with a more dusty, hazy sound, a lot more Texas influence as opposed to their Let It Roll album, which was a lot more 70s glossy. This feels much more Western cowboy with those gorgeous low guitar riffs, the slow swinging beat, the harmonies, as always, are just chef's kiss. There's really not much else to say sonically because, like every Midland song, it is superbly produced. Smooth, sleazy, very pretty, but the songwriting is what has me hooked on this one, which is surprising because normally you come to Midland for the production, for the style, but this track is a real step up in songwriting, so when you combine that with their already great sound, it's a lethal combination. The track is basically describing a one-night stand, but explaining it as if it was a crime because the two lovers are trying to make sure nobody finds out, but the moon saw it all. The stars must have blushed when they kissed. The nighttime tells the truth, but the sunrise tells the story because they split up in the morning time. I just think it's so clever to take something as simple like a one-night stand and present it as like a crime scene investigation where inanimate objects or pieces of nature are the witnesses. I love in the first verse how they introduce the setting, saying there's a half cigarette swimming in red wine. I just freaking love this song. Midland couldn't have pulled through in a more emphatic way. Gosh darn, I am pumped for this EP. In other news, Breland collaborated with Scott Storch and ESPN to create a theme song for UFC 264.
Cause my mama said knock you out, and my daddy said don't let them get.
I don't know if this is like the official anthem of UFC 264, but if it is, it's pretty dope. I mean, if anything, it just shows how stupid big of a pull Conor McGregor is. Like, come on, he gets his own anthem. Now, the trilogy is a pretty big deal, but as far as I know, there's never been a custom-made anthem for a UFC event. But sure enough, our boy Breland somehow worked his way onto the track, so I figured why not give my 2 cents. If I'm being honest, it's grown on me. I thought we would have got something heavier for an anthem, in which case Breland is not really your guy. But after a few listens, I'm hearing the appeal. I think it shows Breland can actually rap. He throws some nifty wordplay in here and there. I think he just unlocks more musical potential when he doesn't try to hold on to the country genre. I know this song's gonna hit different during the promos when you see Connor and Dustin pulling up in their suits in slow-mo. Or that won't happen and this isn't an official anthem, in which case I'm confused. This whole thing has me confused because I've just never seen anything like it. Moral of the story, I think it's pretty cool. Our boy Breland is on there, so I figure why not express my confusion to all of you. And yeah. Jesse Daniel put out another pre-release from his upcoming album, this one titled Looking Back.
Looking back in the rearview mirror.
If you're unfamiliar with Jesse Daniel, he's a singer-songwriter from California who's been on my radar for a bit. I enjoyed his 2020 album Rollin' On quite a bit. Joe from the Discord summed it up pretty well, saying Jesse Daniel is kind of like a less polished John Party. But to this new song, I'm almost a little split. Lyrically, I think I would have liked a little more from this one. In the first verse, it looked like he was going to stick with vehicle and driving references, but he never revisits that structure or idea in the second verse. Outside of that, I think it's pretty standard I should have loved you more while I had you style song. And vocally, I think I would have liked a little more as well. He's almost singing with a poker face, like he's holding his emotion in. The vocal performance just feels a little reserved, I guess. But on the flip side, it's a catchy tune that sounds great. The hook, though nothing crazy, has been stuck in my head, so again, I don't know. I'm mixed on my feelings, but regardless, I'm looking forward to this album due at the end of the month. And if you're unfamiliar with Jesse Daniel but want some more Bakersfield style music, I think he's a great place to go. Next up, some of the guys from the Discord wanted me to check out the new Mike and the Moonpies song, Paycheck to Paycheck. But come Friday night, I'll be feeling right when I'm catching my... This new one from Mike and the Moonpies, man, it is a jam. Very, very quick pace. I love how the drums are pretty dead sounding and don't really ring out. It keeps the rhythm much tighter and keeps the rapid percussion clean and just prevents it from feeling messy. I love the abundance of electric guitar work all over this song. Really just the arrangement overall is well done. There's instruments coming and going, but never too much or too little at once. It's just instruments flying everywhere, but I think it's the vocal delivery that allows the whole thing to work. It would all kind of collapse in on itself if the vocals couldn't match the production, but from the growly singing to the odd yelp, the flying harmonies, this song's just a lot of fun and it gets a thumbs up from me. Parker McCollum also put out a new one, Rest of My Life, along with a long-awaited album announcement. Yeah, it's just the rest of my life. At last, 4 years after Parker released one of my favorite country music albums, Probably Wrong, he has finally announced his third studio album, Gold Chain Cowboy, coming July 30th, containing his biggest hit to date, Pretty Heart, along with To Be Loved by You, Drinkin', and this new one we're here to talk about, Rest of My Life. I'm just going to come out and say this is easily my favorite track of all the pre-releases featured on the upcoming record, although it is also worth noting that Drinking and To Be Loved by You have definitely grown on me. I'm not huge on them, but I don't hate them as much as I did when they came out. I also want to come out and say congratulations to Parker on his engagement. I just saw that on Instagram right before I hopped on to record, so congratulations. But yeah, to this song, it just feels like vintage Parker McCollum. I became a fan of Parker during his Probably Wrong era, before he moved to Nashville, so pretty well disappointing me to hear how his music changed once he got put under the bright lights. I'm not blaming Parker, his label is probably saying, hey, do this, because it sells well, and sure enough, he does it, and he gets a number one. But this new track just feels like we're back to what at least made me fall in love with Parker, a simple but colorful instrumental palette, some crisp acoustic picking with a gorgeous harmonica, even some piano chords that just add this grand backbone to the song. I think the exclusion of the piano since he moved to Nashville was one of the most disappointing parts of his new sound. All of Parker's older music featured rocking pianos, sad pianos, whatever it was, and I think pianos have this strength that provides an open, theatrical effect that you can't really recreate with percussion or rhythmic guitar, so it's great to hear that back, as well as just some really depressing but descriptive lyrics. It's a solo write from Parker, and you feel it. I love how he sets the scene for us so we can step into his shoes a little, a picture frame hanging a little to the side, saying how it was late September, and this down in the dumps vibe is all brought together by Parker's whiny vocal tone, and I don't mean that as an insult, but his tone definitely shines through the most on slower, aching songs where he's pleading with someone or for something. Either way, big thumbs up on this new one, and I'm excited for this album even if I don't have the highest hopes. And yeah, let's move on to Tenille Townes, who put out a new track, Girl Who Didn't Care. This is the latest single from fellow Canuck Tenille Townes, and I must say, I was very impressed by this one. I think the most impressive aspect of this track is how Tenille is able to display this innocence within the kid she sees on the street, and how she compares that to her younger self, and just all the childish things and ideas she talks about are so vivid and well articulated. Specifically, there's a line in the first verse right as the track opens, when she's talking about this kid having a bunch of fun, saying, "You can't fake a smile like that. She hasn't learned how to." Just that short second line there not only expresses the innocence of the child, but the corruption we naturally come to learn as we age, the deception we catch on to over the course of time. And I think it's this conflict between being a fully aware adult, but craving that unknowingness a child has that makes this song interesting. rather than comparing childhood activities to her current ones. I love how she focuses more on behaviors and compares those innocent ideologies to her adult ones. I think it's really clever, and for whatever reason, the big wall of sound chorus doesn't bug me. I don't know if it's because her voice doesn't get drowned out, or because we can hear the guitars more, but regardless, normally I would hear that and think it's overproduced, but it just sounds right in this scenario. Randall King also put out a new track, Record High.
Rock bottom is bad on.
Record High is the classic got heartbroken, wound up back in the bar, bouncing back. I love the line, don't call it a comeback, for so many reasons. This song is nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing we haven't heard before, but I do think Randall just has a natural charm that makes his music easy to listen to. Obviously the George Strait comparisons and everything, but it's just a good sound. His voice is so rich that his vocals alone just make the song that much better. Yeah, I don't have too many thoughts on it. I think it's an idea we've heard before that was well executed by Randall. Gets a thumbs up from me. And lastly for today, we've got a new one from Chris Lane, Ain't Even Met You Yet. Chris Lane has been on a bit of a streak lately with some decent tracks, and the train continues on. The songs haven't been anything mind-blowing, but there's definitely been some significant improvements since Fill Them Boots, and this new one, Ain't Even Met You Yet, is the best track yet. It's just a super sweet, mature, likable song about Chris being emotionally split. He's scared to death about being a dad, but also loves his kid to death and hasn't even met him yet. Although, by now, the child is born. Little baby Dutton Walker Lane is officially here, but obviously the song would have been written before that. I digress. I think the lyrics here get a little heard it before as the song goes on, talking about his kid's first beer and whatnot, but I really enjoyed the first verse, and really the whole song is sweet, but I find the first verse the most interesting and clever. I love how he writes the song like a conversation with his unborn child. It opens with him saying, "Hey buddy, I couldn't sleep," and I just like the relatability in the lines about his wife would get mad if he turned on the TV. It just feels authentic, and I like how he describes the kid's bedroom as Carolina blue. He mentions how there's a rocking chair facing the kid's name on the wall. It helps you get an image of where Chris is singing about. I just think there's a lot to love with this new one. I'm excited for Chris Young becoming a father, and I'm excited to see musically where he goes from here because he's definitely been changing my view of him over the last few months. Alright, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Like I said, a lot of albums and EPs from people like Lane Hardy, Blanco, Riley Green, Flatland Cavalry, etc. But singles-wise, not actually as many. Toby Keith put out Happy Birthday America, but I don't know, it's very politically driven, which is why I just don't know how to approach it, especially since it's not even my politics. So hence why I don't talk about it, because politics are touchy. Miranda Lambert put out like a dub remix of Tequila Does. I don't know, the only Tequila Does remake I'm going to be going back to is the Marfa Tapes one. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and comment what you thought of these songs. Comment your favorite new release from this week. I'm always interested in your guys' thoughts. If you're new, maybe consider subscribing for more country music content. Links to my Instagram, Discord, and podcast are in the description below. And yeah, until next time, have a great day.